Hi everybody, I am super excited to bring you the quick version of today's Naptime Nuggets number 42, encouraging emotional intelligence in young children. Today I'm going to give you tips and tools for infants and toddlers so that you can really do a couple major things that make an outstanding difference when it comes to emotional development in young toddlers. You literally can set the trajectory for the rest of their life based on what you do those first couple years. And then next week we'll look at preschool age, and then the following week we will look at even older children, because every age, every child can really benefit from some few simple things that you can do to help increase their emotional intelligence. What do I mean by emotional intelligence? Well, emotional intelligence is the ability to identify what you're feeling, evaluate it, control yourself even when you're feeling really big emotions, and to be able to express emotions appropriately. That's all under this umbrella of emotional intelligence. It's your emotional quotient. Can you recognize in other people what they're feeling and know what to do about it? So if my boss is really upset and stressed, do I still go in and ask her for that raise? No, not if I'm emotionally intelligent. I watch her cues to see when she's open to that kind of a conversation. That's just one example, but how you set them up when they're young will impact not only their social relationships and their friendships, but also how they do in school and in life. Social emotional development has been found to make all the difference, not IQ. IQ does make a difference, but you've all known somebody who was really great at taking tests, identifying numbers and letters from an early age, maybe even being able to read, doing well in school, maybe even skipping grades, who didn't do very well in social relationships. And that impacts everything. If you want to keep a job, you have to be able to get along with people. So this domain impacts every other learning domain. So it's really important. So I'm going to give you some ideas today. But first I want to tell you, when it comes to the ESIPs, this is the Early Childhood Indicators of Progress. It gives us guidelines to look at social emotional development. So I want you to know what you can expect at different ages. That'll take me about a minute. And then I'm going to give you a couple major strategies to use with 1 and 2 year olds. And actually newborns. All of them. 0 to 2. Okay. So when they're born, they're able to express themselves, right? They can cry when they're upset or uncomfortable, and they can make little bits of sounds, but not a lot of sounds, really. They make some gestures, but a lot of it's reflexes, and they do have some ways that they express how they're feeling, but it's really hard for them to do it clearly. So as a parent of a newborn, I was a newborn of 2 babies. Both of mine cried a lot, and I was not able to read their cues very well. But they still tried. They tried to get their message across. By the time they start to get 1 to 2 years old, they start to be able to express those feelings and needs and wants a lot more clearly, though they still won't have the language, so they don't have very clear words. So I remember saying, just tell me what you want. I'll get it for you. But I couldn't understand what she was saying. It was so frustrating, especially when an all-out tantrum would come. And then it's like, oh, I don't even know how to deal with this right now. What I didn't know is that if I did some steps there when they were young, they would, at an earlier age, develop the ability to overcome those big emotions and know what to do with them. I didn't have the tools, so that's why I want to share the tools with you guys. Okay, so by the time they're 2 or 3, they can use words to express emotions and even say things like, I'm mad. And then by the time they're 4 or 5, they can actually demonstrate and describe several different emotions. They can start to read emotions in other people and be able to regulate their own emotions some. So it's very rare to see a 5 or 6 year old throw a tantrum, but it is very normal for a 2-year-old to do that. So how they develop those skills, and if they have those skills when they're 5, is dependent on what you do. Yes, it's their nature, it's how they're born, it's their temperament, but it's also what you do. So that's why I'm here to support you. So there's a couple major things. Let's start with some help from my baby again. So here I have my baby, I have my newborn. We talked last week about talking and then listening and really have that give and take in conversation with that newborn. And that's going to be very important. However, there's another piece of it. It's not just words, it's emotions. We want this baby to start to understand that even when she's feeling really big feelings, it's okay. We'll be calm. As adults, we'll respond. I'm going to try and meet your needs. That's what we want to send the message to the baby. So when I was young, they really believed that the more you hold babies, the more dependent they get on you, the more demanding they get, whiny, etc. And now we know it's not true. The attachment that they have, the connection and trust with you, sets the trajectory for who they will marry, how far they will go in their career. It's really an exciting thing. And what it depends on is, can I read your messages? Can I get what you're trying to tell me, baby? And you don't even have to be able to read the messages perfectly. It's a matter of trying to see what messages are they sending, and am I reading it? So if this baby is saying, oh, I just want to be held, and I can just ignore her, she's going to get more anxious, more whiny. But if she cries and I come and I hold her and I rock her, I talk sweet to her, and see, does that meet her needs? Is that what it is that she's needing? She will actually become calmer as she develops that trust. That when she cries, I will be there for her. I will hold her. I will touch her. I will play with her. I will give her space if she needs space. Sometimes the babies are saying like, stop. And so that's a huge part of how I'm going to help this baby develop social emotional development. This is how they're going to get the skills to have emotional intelligence, because they're going to then become calmer. They're going to learn how to develop empathy and connection, human connection. And then once they have that, they will start going into the toddler years, which a whole new level of emotional mayhem can come in the toddler years. So what do you do when it comes to toddlers? Toddlers are going to need your help, not only like when you're responding to the baby and you're really supportive of that baby. We're going to do the same things to the toddlers, but we're going to bring it a step further. So I'm going to look at a toddler and I'm going to say, oh, what do you need? Oh, and I'm going to have empathy and understanding for that toddler. We've talked about that. I'm going to label their feelings. I'm going to use some emotion on my face so that they know that I get it. I get them. But you can also use things like this other little friend of mine. So here you can use a puppet, which they just love so much, right? So I can take this puppet and I can go, oh, he's so mad. Look, oh, he's so mad. Are you okay? Yeah, it's okay. Do you need a hug? Yeah? Okay, I'll give you a hug. Yeah. If you need a hug, you can get one. Yeah, if you need a hug, you can get one. Do you want to give him a hug? And maybe even that toddler will be looking at me like, what are you doing? And then they'll love giving the lion a hug. So that's one thing, is you can act it out with things that they think are interesting and fun. And then they get to see it outside of themselves. And then when they're in that moment, you're just tuning into the child and you're showing them, because their language center's turned off, you're showing them, I get you, I understand you, I'm going to be here for you and try and respond to you. Now, some people say, what about ignoring? You can ignore a toddler, especially if they're sending you the messages that they need to be ignored. Like if they've really, really falling apart, you've tried everything, nothing's working, they might be saying they need space. So it's okay to kind of step back. What you want to do in the end is you want to show infants and toddlers, I'm going to be here for you when you're having difficulty, and I am going to help support you through these difficult moments. That way they build trust, they build this understanding that they don't have to fight the world. They can love the world and be loved by the world. That's what we want to show them in those first couple of years. So the last thing when it comes to toddlers I want to share with you today is one of the most important, and this is you're going to help them interpret what is happening. So they don't really understand the world. They're kind of bumbling through it. They're testing it out. They're trying to measure cause and effect and what's happening. So we're going to help them understand it. So I might say something like, oh, you're going to hug the baby, and look, the baby's crying. The baby's saying, no more talking. And that toddler's going to watch and be like, what? So you interpret what other kids are saying. So let's say the toddler goes to pummel over the toys that the 3-year-old is playing with, and the 3-year-old's like, no! Then you're going to want to interpret that behavior for the toddler. She's saying no, she doesn't want you to play right now. She wants you to give her space. And then you help the toddler step back. And that's just telling the toddler, Look at the messages. Her face is mad. Her face is upset. She needs space. And then you show them how to give that toddler space. You can even do it, let's say a 12-month-old. I had a 12-month-old that bit me. And I was like, ow, ow, it hurts. I need a break. And I stepped away and I took a deep breath. So I'm showing that little tiny toddler, your actions have a reaction in me. They cause an impact on me. And then that toddler starts to put together, oh, if I bite, that person gets sad. And then eventually they won't want to do that, of course. But it takes a long time until those infants and toddlers develop social emotional intelligence where they can really look at other people's cues and respond appropriately. So if you have any tips or tools that you use, go ahead and write them in the comment box, and you will find in my description of today's Naptime Nuggets a link to an article that has about 20 different ideas for teaching emotional intelligence to toddlers and infants. So take a look at that, pick 1 or 2 a week that you can use, try them out throughout the week, and you will start to see those toddlers and infants grow their development skill, their emotional development skills. And you can be proud that you are the one that impacted their social emotional development. You encouraged it in a way that they got more emotionally intelligent. And you'll also get the benefits of better behavior. I'm here supporting you. Naptime Nuggets number 42. I hope you got something out of it that is useful for you. Next week we'll start to look at, okay, now they're in preschool years. It's a whole different level because you can communicate with them. What are some games and other things that you can do to start increasing their emotional intelligence so that they can enter into play bouts with friends and find success. They can manage some of those conflicts that come up in friendships. And so that's what we'll start to look at next week. Over and out.